Hey guys, today I will be talking about my experience in a mental hospital. And if anyone here is triggered by the topic of self harm, eating disorders, behaviors, then please don't watch this. This is just to kind of share my story if anyone else may be considering it for their own good needs or is just curious for whatever reason. So, yeah, I have been in a psych ward once, and that was in August 2018. So, only about a year ago. Um, I have had an eating disorder for a long time, but at the time, I was pretty recovered from my eating disorder. I wasn't restricting, I was keeping my weight stable. Um, thoughts were still there, but I wasn't engaging in any of those behaviors, along with those. However, a lot of things happened. My parents got divorced, became very depressed. I started engaging in drugs, and all of that kind of fucked with my brain chemistry, and I started self harming. And it got to a point where it started off just my wrists, and then it got to a point where it was my legs, all of my arms, and I was burning my hands with a curling iron. And I tried to cover it up, but when you live with your mother, obviously she's gonna see them at one point. And she did, and we kind of discussed the topic of going inpatient to a psychiatric facility. And I actually decided to go willingly. My mom could have put me in out of my will because I'm a minor, but she kind of put this one in my hands because although the self harm was very serious, it wasn't like, and I'm not saying this to like just they're like make people who are self harming like think it's okay, but it wasn't to a point where it was impacting like my physical health as like an eating disorder was, where I would be forced into treatment for that because I was at risk for dying. So, it was brought up a lot and we thought about it a lot. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, it's okay. I'll get through this. But it started getting worse and I started doing it more frequently. It hurt so bad to the point where I had to wear loose clothes. They got infected. I didn't know what to do. And just, I didn't like the way they looked, but it was so addicting, the release of pain, that all of this and all of the other problems I was dealing with were making me really suicidal. And that got to a point where I was stealing pills. I had a few overdoses, and at that point, I knew that I needed to go. And so I went. I was there for only 5 days. So they didn't do much. They just wanted to switch my medication and keep me for a few days to see how that worked. But yeah, so now I'm going to talk about my experience. So, this place, your family is only allowed to visit you like 1 hour a day. I think on the weekends it was a little more, but not that much. Um, which was kind of different because most of the other places I've been to, parents are allowed basically whatever they want in terms of like hospitals. But basically, it was a locked unit, and I got in. They searched my bag. They made me take strings out of any like sweatpants. I couldn't wear like kind of like I could wear like short sleeves and like stuff, but I couldn't wear anything like that would kind of like overly show my body. So like I don't think tank tops were allowed and stuff like that. Um, and so they like kept those away and like maybe some other objects that were unsafe. I did bring coloring books and pens, and I was allowed to use them, but I had to be in sight and I had to turn them in when I was done. And your room, you couldn't have anything in it except for your clothes, which was kind of annoying because during shift change, which was like over an hour, they couldn't supervise you. So it was called room time, where you were locked in your room during the whole shift change and you had nothing to do. So I would either take a nap or like just kind of like stare out my sad window looking down at a courtyard. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And luckily, I didn't have a roommate. Nothing against roommates. It's just not my thing. I like to have my privacy when I'm in a mental health facility. So, but maybe if I had a roommate, it would have been nicer because I would have someone to talk to. But I didn't. And basically, this place treated eating disorder patients and other patients with like substance abuse that needed a detox. They dealt with like anxiety, like any other mood disorder. So the only thing different was they give you like handbooks to kind of work through. And the eating disorder patients had their own program, and then everyone else had like the other one. And so that was the one difference. Two, eating disorder patients had to complete 100% meals and snacks, and they had to sit at a separate table at those times so they were supervised. And they couldn't exercise, they couldn't shower at night, they could only shower in the morning. So yeah. I was on the mood track because at the time I wasn't really struggling with an eating disorder. But they did modify it since I had a pass, which meant my bedroom was locked 30 minutes after meals and like whatever after, or an hour after meals and 30 after snacks. I could eat however much I wanted. The dietitian said you have to eat 75%, but really like I didn't most of the time because I was so depressed. And if you didn't want to eat a meal or a snack, you could just say, I'm refusing. And they would obviously write it down, but they wouldn't like make you supplement for that because you weren't an eating disorder patient. And you could also choose your snacks. And your parents could bring you in food if you didn't like what was on your trays. And you didn't have to like, you could sleep in, so you could have breakfast like whenever you woke up, opposed to the eating disorder patients, they were like at certain times. So there's that. And then there was 3 snacks and 3 meals a day, but mood patients could kind of alter that to their hunger, whatever. And they had groups, like they had focal group, process group, pet therapy, which I loved, like occupational art, like kind of everything. I was there during the summer, so I didn't have to do any schoolwork, so that was good. And yeah, they had obviously when I got there, let's talk about admissions. When I got there, they basically just was like, bye to my mom. Like they made her sign a few papers and they're like, bye. So that was kind of weird considering that most of the time my mom had to do the intake with me. So they kind of just like explained everything, showed me my room, and then they did like a scanner thing to make sure I wasn't like secretly sneaking in stuff. They made me go basically butt naked. I could wear like underwear and a bra, but they like literally looked in my underwear and looked in my bra, and you couldn't have wired bras, which I didn't really, because I normally wear bralettes, but TMI. And they like scanned me with like this thing to make sure I didn't have any like harmful objects on me, and it was like really shocking because I was like, whoa, this feels so invalidating, but it was there for a reason. Um, and yeah, so I think I kind of touched everything. Um, the rooms, you couldn't even have a mirror in your room. It was very like safety proof, which is kind of weird because even at like eating disorder hospitals, they had mirrors. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, I was only there for 5 days. I know if you're an eating disorder patient, you'll probably be there longer than that in terms of weight restoration or whatever your needs are. I did meet with a dietitian, but it wasn't like an eating disorder session. She kind of was just talking about like what I wanted on my trays, what I didn't like, and normally eating disorder patients only have 3 dislikes. I could say whatever the fuck I wanted. And yeah, so that was you met with your psychiatrist. I think I met with a medical doctor like once, but they were just kind of checking in. Not again, wasn't an eating disorder patient, so they didn't have much concerns. Although they did take your weight and vitals every other day. So, and I'm pretty sure I lost weight there because I was so depressed and I wasn't eating that much, but they never really like brought it up. If you're an eating disorder patient, that would obviously be a problem. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed a few of the staff, but a lot of them, like any place you go to, were pretty annoying. Um, but it was pretty mellow. It wasn't like your typical like what you think in your head psych ward. Um, with like crazy people. Everyone was like normal. They just had their mental illnesses, and that's okay. We all struggle with something. And they did have a basketball like on the patio. They had a basketball hoop, so you could like shoot hoops if you were clear for exercise, if in terms of eating disorder, or if you know you were a mid patient, you can just shoot hoops whenever we had outside time. They played music a lot. You had a lot of free time. They played movies during leisure time. And there was levels, but again, I was only there for 5 days, so I don't know much about that. It was pretty boring. I was really happy to get out of there. But it was for the best. And if you guys ever are struggling, it's always better to be safe than sorry. You may not like it, but trust me, if it's gonna save your life, it's worth it. Because no matter where you are in your journey, no matter how bad it is, it will get better. And although this place didn't help me that much, it got me on the right track. And I really hope that you all can, experience that too. So, yeah. I don't think anyone's gonna watch this, but I just thought I would put it out there in case someone comes across it. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you soon.